Okay, we have finally made it to the final episode, episode 30, the reunion part 2, and we saw a lot of tears, we saw a lot of anger, hurt, and we saw some happiness and joy in this episode as well, as all of the participants sit down to chat finally with our 3 experts. Welcome back to Romance Review TV with Lady T. Got another recap for you guys. Married at First Sight UK Season 7, Episode 30, the final episode, the reunion part 2. So without any other further ado, let's talk about it. So we just came out of the dinner party from the previous episode, and part 2 is actually sitting down, getting some final words from our experts. And also kind of catching up with everybody to see what's going on. So, of course, our first couple that the experts called to the couch was Whitney and Matt. And, of course, they had a very, very interesting experience coming into the process. We also saw a little bit of volatility at the final dinner party yesterday with Matt, but we did get an apology out of Matt before he was even addressed on things that was said. So that was good to hear as well. Now, as regards to Whitney and Matt, there's a lot of things obviously that's going on. Some of his insecurities, he said, came to the surface after going on the outside world with Whitney, whatever that is, but there's a lot of love there, or whatever connection, even if it's not as deep as love, there's a lot of emotion with these two. So they made this whole statement, I would not rule out not being able to get back together. And it was like the experts call it a double negative, because I was like, make that make sense. But at the end of the day, there is whatever the issues he's going through, and it looks like they're open to working it out. It's just not right now. Okay, so next up we have PJ and Lara. Now, these two have become BFFs. Now, even though they don't have a solid romantic connection, their friendship is stronger than ever outside of the process. And, they really haven't talked too much about, individual lives. They've went back, and I kind of mentioned some things yesterday episode about, I think she's maybe dating now. He's still doing, his entertainment. Even Shanita's mom had mentioned that she saw everything PJ had to offer. But at the end of the day, the two of them are very cordial BFFs, and hey, you couldn't ask for more than that. Then we had Sophie and Jonathan, and they said how great they started off. I actually thought that these two could have went the long haul with the relationship. She mentioned again with the experts that he let outside influences infiltrate the relationship. And I don't know if I can say that. It looked like it was the other way around. Now, the biggest issue is his comments. It was brought up again in this episode by the experts about him and the horse legs, and, me myself as a person who is a person that work out, I don't want my legs overly bulked up. So I get where he's coming from. It's just that with some people, they might find that offensive. I mean, you can't reach all audiences the same way. I don't have a problem with what he said because I understand it. And I would think Sophie did too, which it didn't seem like she took offense until everybody else took offense. I could be wrong about that. Let me know down in the comment section. But he was cringing watching that whole thing back. And one of the other things is whether the experts was pushing her to speak up a lot more. But ultimately, they have moved on. Next up is Thomas and Adrian, and we all know Thomas has had a very eventful season, not only with Adrian, but even with some of the other cast members. And even though, they're not in a relationship, and because all of the boxes wasn't checked off because intimacy was a big one, they have decided to go their separate ways, but there was a lot of emotion there. And at the same time, they still have their friendship. And that's a good thing that they have. Now, I will say I found it interesting that this is when he was talking about how it was many times he was ready to leave, but he stuck in the process. And sometimes when you know that it's not a good fit, it's probably best to move on. Well, the other part of their time on the couch was Thomas's issues and blow-ups throughout the season, which started early in the season with Shanita, with the he say, she say, with April and I forgot the other girl's name who left early. She was partnered with Jess and April. You know how he kept bringing up that they were saying things about Shanita behind her back, and you can tell Thomas was so cringy watching it back, but hey, he put it out there, and Jess was like, what the heck? Because she left early and he brought all that information out after she left. So, of course, she was feeling some kind of way. He did apologize not only yesterday, but he also apologized to April today. So that was good to see as well with these two. This is the couple that had me shedding a little bit of a tear, which was, of course, Jordan and Shanita. They were my number one couple, and it looked like the experts were very disappointed as well because they were the strongest couple throughout the season. However, I think Jordan got in the way of this, and it seems like he was still open, but because of the fact that there's so much damage that happened after the season was over, I think, with Shanita, she does not want to take that chance. And it really, really brought the emotion to the table when they kind of gave flashbacks over their whole journey, how connected they were, and affectionate that they were with everything, and how they, built their relationship. And to see it all fall apart after the season, I mean, it's interesting. I guess you do live life inside of a bubble when you're part of experiments like this. But when outside world happens and the cameras go away and your other, castmates as a support system go away, it's just you and that other person, and you two got to make it work. And unfortunately, it didn't happen with these two. Now, the experts did give them the opportunity to kind of say, hey, why don't you kind of reconnect and see if this is something that you could do. Now, as much as Jordan is open, Shanita is not. And I mean, she's like, hey, do I really want to go through this again? Because what if I open that door and then he backslides again? And so, of course, that's going to make anybody feel some kind of way, and even with advice from like Zoe, and I think the other person was Gemma, who say, there's a lot of love here. Why won't the two of you try to go ahead and see where this can go? We heard Shanita say, you know what, I don't know if I want to open that door, and it happens again. So you can tell Paul was extremely disappointed because this was their star couple. And then we had April and George. They came into this at the end strong. At the beginning, there was a lot of, betrayal, commitment, and trust issues between these two. But they've learned how to communicate with each other, was one of the things that they say. And they make each other feel safe. This is all very interesting. It's almost like I'm watching two different realities versus, with what I'm seeing with these two and what's being said with all of these allegations on the outside. A lot is going on with regards to George, and it seemed like they were doing well even on the outside until the season aired. And then, of course, all of the allegations started to sprout, which I think ultimately ended the relationship, because at that point, April probably, she didn't want all of the, everything that came with that to affect her mental health. So it's unfortunate because honestly, I think whatever was in his past came out. These two were actually a strong couple. Next up is Kwame and Kasia. The mom and pop of the group is what the experts described them as. Now, it was interesting because I know with Kasia, she said that she didn't feel respected throughout the relationship. Whereas Kwame said he gave her all the validation in the world, and even the turning point of where he saw a connection was after the break, the midway break. Whereas Kasia was like she never had any turning point with Kwame. And the whole thing, a conversation came up around her saying about her being sensitive about what she was saying about her child at the home stays. He was like, I always proud, gave you acclimates for being a mom, being a businesswoman, being a queen, being a black woman. And she didn't deny it. I mean, she had an interesting look on her face, but she didn't deny it. Now, I do know that these two, like I said, if you go to my TikTok, you'll see all of the videos of everything said outside of this experiment, what happened during the homestay period with these two. But I don't know, this is a weird dynamic, and her calling him the B word all the time, which, I am not a fan of throwing curse words at your significant other. That's just me. I know people do it, but it's just not my thing. But whatever reason, I wish them both the best. I know he's been doing a lot of podcasts outside of the season, and she's been doing a lot of things too. I know she got a couple of brand deals or so, maybe more than a couple, on the table. So they're living their lives outside of this. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's just not there with these two. So we can move on from these two, and we're going to talk about the next couple. So now we got Richie and Lara. Now, they left the experiment early. They were the first couple to go. It was so sad to hear Lara actually saying that this was her final shot at love. This is it. She's done. And, here's the thing. I think what it is that sometimes you need to evaluate, do some self-awareness. Also look at the pool of men that you're choosing from and kind of make some adjustments. But if she feels at this point that she's done, then she's done. I mean, it's just sad because and probably when she least expected, somebody's going to come into her life. We have to, hope that would happen. But other than that, they're doing fairly well. And finally, last but not least, we have Zoe and Jenna. And as the experts mentioned, this was the first lesbian couple in the history of the show. They are actually still together as a couple. They couldn't say that they actually are in love with each other because that's a strong word. I would assume so maybe now at this point, because this was filmed back in July. So this is like 3 months down the road. But they're doing extremely well. They started off kind of rocky because their lifestyles are so different. But ultimately, they put in the work. And now they are as strong as ever. And so, we wish the best for both of these two ladies, both Jenna and Zoe. So, it was a long season, 30 episodes, a lot of drama. We got to wait for our next big one, which I think is Married at First Sight Australia, which comes out in January. And we're still in the middle of Married at First Sight San Diego here in the U.S. We're not in the middle. We're at the tail end. Decision day is next week. So stay tuned for that. And, I wish everybody from this season the best. Okay, so let's get the conversation started down in the comment section. What is your overall thoughts about all of the cast members, the couples, all of the drama, and how it actually led up to this point at the end of the season? Drop your conversations down below. I do enjoy them and respond and even send you guys a heart. So stay tuned for other recaps. Love is Blind season 4, season 3, season 4. I think, yeah. We'll get it straight. It starts today, October 19th. So stay tuned if you're interested in those recaps, as well as Love Island Australia starting on October 31st, and the end of the season for Married at First Sight San Diego. So until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.